Coming up on show 592, things aren't looking rosy at NIO, new fast chargers for the US, and Tesla's Model 3 becomes the bestseller in another country. Those stories and a lot more coming up on your edition for Thursday, 26th of September. My name is Martyn Lee, going through every EV story that I can find to save you time. Well, thank you to the gang at MyEV.com. Looking forward to the news they've got coming sometime soon. They said some exciting news to bring us if you're in the USA and you are in the market for an EV, or maybe it's time to offload yours and move on to another model. Buying and selling and learning about EVs got so much easier when they launched MyEV, MyEV.com in the US. Hello to a new Patreon producer, you Dougie boy, Doug Butcher. Thank you very much, Doug, for being a new Patreon producer of the podcast. And my friend Scott said, why don't you leave a little message on the beginning of the podcast for anybody that wants to sign my petition online, which is entitled Ban the Advertising and Endorsement of Internal Combustion Engines. I like your thinking, Scott. Yes, we've banned cigarette advertising, and that's harmful. Why not ban the advertising of internal combustion engines? There's nothing good coming out the back of an exhaust pipe. The short link is a bit much for me to give you on the podcast, but if you just search for Scott, Scott. Edy, his name is Ed, surname is Edy. You'll find his Twitter, and you can, if you want to, sign that petition. Well, we'll start with some news from NIO today. NIO is China's homegrown answer to Tesla, and they posted a much more worse than expected quarterly loss this week, triggering thousands of job cuts and exacerbated concerns that a bubble in the world's largest EV market may well be bursting, says Automotive News Europe. The dire situation has prompted NIO, which is backed by the tech giant Tencent Holdings, to raise $200 million from the founder William Lee and a Tencent affiliate, and to plan the spin-off of some of the businesses as well. Its US-listed shares dropped as much as 28% to less than $2 on Tuesday, and are off more than 80% from their peak following last year's IPO. NIO has accumulated about $6 billion in losses since it was founded by Lee, who was also the CEO in 2014. Fire risks led to a mass callback of nearly 5,000 vehicles earlier this year in June, a significant proportion of the 17,500 units NIO had sold by the end of May. Proving that it's not easy to start a car company, let alone keep one going and be a success. NIO certainly struggling. Well, they're in the process of ramping up the production of sales of their second all-electric model. It's called the ES6, while at the same time trying to maintain sales of their seven-seater, the ES8. But things not going so well in that respect either, says InsideEVs. Last month, sales of the two amounted to just 1,943 combined. It is the highest result of the year and the third best in the short history of NIO. However, looking at the splits, the ES8 sold just 146 models, down 86%. The ES6 selling 1,797, but neither of those numbers, I agree, if you were thinking, not exactly blowing anyone's socks off. I'll pop a link to Automotive News and InsideEVs in the show notes if you would like to read more about those stories, if you're curious about NIO, if you like Jaguar. Somebody near me owns a Jaguar I-Pace, because when I go and charge, very often at my local Polar Chargers, the Jag is parked next to me, and it's a beautiful looking car. Really like the I-Pace. Michael van der Sande is the head of the special vehicle operations at Jaguar, and he told the British magazine Autocar that a high-performance I-Pace is more like when, not if, according to Autoblog. Well, the production model would receive more comprehensive changes than the ones that you might see on track. The ones in the Jaguar I-Pace E-Trophy that supports Formula E. It'll have a more powerful powertrain, because the powertrain in E-Trophy is very similar, I think it's the same actually, to the road-going version. Body kit would certainly resemble those of the E-Trophy cars though, and I had a good old sniff around an E-Trophy car, because I was able to get up close and personal, not actually inside one, but as close as you can get. And I spent, must have been a good 20 minutes, half an hour with just about every bit of the car. And yeah, I mean, I can confirm that apart from obviously being stripped out and a cage and race car electrics and things like that, it is otherwise a Jaguar I-Pace, which they race in the E-Trophy series. Whether that would be The road-going version, whether that would be a limited edition model like the EX or the XE, Project 8, or a standard addition to the range, nothing confirmed yet. Jaguar, though, are aware that if you do venture into the high-performance bit of the EV market, it can be rough and tumble. It can be brutal at times, as Porsche have found with the Taycan, as Tesla have found with the Model S. All of a sudden, those articles online comparing 0 to 60 times, 0 to 100 times, standing quarter miles, my car's better than your car, all of that kind of thing. If Jaguar end up playing in that play park, they've got to be ready to play seriously. Okay, let's talk about charging, and the Aussie charger maker Tritium has opened a new plant in Los Angeles, and Tritium is now expanding the manufacturing and logistics capabilities of the American market, as well as opening a research and development department as well, according to Electrive. In addition to this, Tritium will introduce new high-powered chargers, the RT175. They are 175 kilowatt power, specifically designed for the American market. They're scheduled to be available in the fourth quarter of this year. The RT175 is based on the same concept that you might have seen the Ionity chargers here in Europe. For example, they recently refitted their chargers at Ionity stations with liquid-cooled cables. That was the thing which enabled 350 kilowatt charge speeds, because it's not that the chargers can't handle it, it's that the cables need to be liquid-cooled. And now the Ionity chargers have indeed been refitted. The Australian company presented its latest high-powered chargers recently in the UK, earlier this month in September. The system for commercial use is fully scalable and capable of charging EVs up to 475 kilowatts, if only there were cars that could charge that fast, but obviously with one eye on the commercial market there. More bad news, more challenging news to hit Volkswagen Group under scrutiny once again, as German prosecutors charge the top two bosses with stock market manipulation. Prosecutors allege the VW Group CEO Herbert Diess and the chairman Hans-Dieter Poch failed to promptly inform investors about the Dieselgate scandal, according to Automotive News. And picked up by Motor1.com, the new charges are just the latest development in the years-long scandal that rocked the automaker and has led to billions in fines for the company and its subsidiaries. Prosecutors also charged the former CEO Martyn Lee to corn in the case. Lawyers for both Diess, who is still and remains VW's CEO, and Poch said neither could have predicted the scandal's financial impact on the company. Well, Diess joined the company in July 2015. In September, the scandal broke when the automaker admitted that it had installed software on 11 million vehicles, which were designed to manipulate emissions testing. They racked up 30 billion euros in fines, that's 33 billion US dollars, and expenses to do with the case, according to the publication. It's tough, isn't it? If someone joins such a massive organisation in July, I mean, day one, get your security pass and find out where the coffee machine is. Day two, discover some pretty deep-rooted manipulation of emissions testings devices. That sounds like if you join in July and the news breaks in September, I think he's got a pretty good case for the defence there to say, look, hey, I just joined the company. And anyway, when you look at what VW have done since then, despite allegations made by the EPA regarding the German automaker, Elon Musk just gave his seal of approval, his support as a response to this Bloomberg article written by Chris Bryant, which said that VW's executive should win an award for the worst sense of timing, turning up just before the news broke. It comes a few weeks after the Tesla CEO was trolling on Twitter the Volkswagen Group for their emissions testing cheating, which in the US, of course, we can call it cheating. Here in the UK, they didn't have to pay any fines or pay me any money. I owned a VW Golf. All I had to do was just go back and be reprogrammed. There was no, as far as I know, no admission to actually any anything illegal. Then maybe they admitted to some sort of morally wrongdoing, but they've always said, look, we didn't break the law. At least not here. It's different around the world, isn't it? This story picked up by Teslarati, according to Elon Musk's Twitter. Elon said this: Herbert Diess is doing more than any big car maker to go electric. The good of the world should come first. For what it's worth, he has my support, said Elon Musk. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to read more. Well, the Model 3, Tesla Model 3, has become not only the hottest selling car in the Netherlands, which I talked about recently. Year-to-date sales put it crossing 10,000 units. The figure is massive, impressive for any model to do 10,000 cars a year in Holland, let alone only since February to now. Not many vehicles manage to sell that much in the entire year. But not only is it busy outselling the likes of the Polo and the Ford Focus in the Netherlands, now in Norway, the Model 3 is the best-selling car by a large margin, with around 12,000 units sold in Norway so far this year. Tesla Model 3 sales have been more than double the Volkswagen Golf in second. Notably, the Netherlands and Norway have always been a big market for Tesla, even before the Model 3. But with the launch of the 3, Norway and Netherlands are now so far ahead in the EV game here in Europe. A company that is slow to make EVs. Let's talk Mazda. Confirmed yesterday it's going to present its first, what they call an EV, at the 2019 Tokyo Motor Show. It'll be the company's first production EV, they call it. In speech quotes, some people would say, according to InsideEVs, the eTPV does have a battery pack. Pretty small, 35.5 kilowatt hours, but that's because it's a range extender. Mazda don't believe in full EVs. They believe, according to recent statements, in the power of range extenders, and particularly their rotary engine. The rotary engine that can operate in its most efficient rev band will work as a generator to provide power to the battery, and it'll be the battery that is what's driving the wheels. The powertrain, the drivetrain, is only powered on electric power, even though what's coming out of the back of the car, yes, is particularly stinky and unhealthy. That does allow Mazda, they think, to call it an EV. And of course it is, regulatory-wise, kind of in line with things like the BMW i3. In the eyes of legislators, it's an EV because it comes under the same rules, at least in this country, as an EV. Because I think most people with the BMW i3 range extender tend to do probably most of their miles anyway on battery power. Certainly, I don't think the politicians and those that make the rules have got half a clue about hybrid, plug-in hybrid, soft hybrid, parallel serial hybrid, and the rest. So, but maybe some of them have. Maybe they're getting educated. We'd like to think that maybe a few people listen to this podcast to pick up a little bit more information about EVs. In this country, MG Motor, which is a Chinese company, even though they bought the famous MG brand, it is indeed a Chinese company these days. MG Motor has secured over 2,000 orders for its new ZS EV in 2 months since launch. Now, in light of this success, the offer that was set to end at 1,000 customers, the offer that was set to end at 2,000 customers, has now been extended to the end of 3,000 customers. You see, the government put in £3,500 if you buy an EV, and MG are matching that with their own £3,500 discount, so you can get the EV Excite with the grant, which puts it at £21,995, which is a very competitive price in the EV market in this country. Would you buy one? I know actually a few of my kind of friends, those that I'm friends with online as well, have put their money down and are looking forward to getting their MG ZS EV. I am a little more risk averse, if that makes sense. Not that it's a huge risk, because there's a dealer network, you got warranties and things like that. It's definitely it's not a leap into the unknown buying a Chinese car. But it's more than a baby step. It's a stride into the moderately unknown. But we'll watch it very closely and carefully. And when, I'm sure in 2, 3, 4 years' time, those people will provide those ownership reports and all will be good. Well, we'll finish off with some energy news today. And it's some news about the French being a little bit saggy. Let me explain. EDF's stock price has been sagging under the weight of nuclear power. You may remember Thomas Picamal. He resigned as the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer of Électricité de France, EDF, big power company here in the UK and, of course, in Europe. 3 years ago, he resigned after warning the French government's determination to have EDF build Hinkley Point C. It's a nuclear reactor in the southwest of England, could well bankrupt the company. Was he being prophetic, or was he being a doom-monger? Let's find out. According to Yahoo Finance today, EDF warned of more overruns of the project. They warned investors it now expects up to £3.6 billion in additional costs and warned that it's more likely than ever that the project will be delayed. EDF was worth 107 billion euros back in 2010 when the British government announced the sites where it wanted to build the next generation of nuclear power plants. That company is now worth 30 billion. That's 33 billion US dollars. The UK government guaranteed EDF a price for the electricity which is generated from the nuclear power station. EDF was guaranteed that if they built the nuclear power station, the government would give them £92.50 for every megawatt hour of energy made by Hinkley Point C. That was in 2012, and we were told that in 2017 we would be cooking our Christmas turkey on nuclear power. Well, as keen observers of the calendar can work out, that date came and went, and now we're looking at mid-2020s with these delays before the plant is even up and running. Some of the delays have been blamed on groundworks and that the ground upon which it's built was unexpectedly tricky. Nevertheless, last week, the UK government went through their latest, it's called like an energy auction. I talked about this on a recent podcast. See that one for more details. But what they do is they do an auction process. They say, right, we need a batch of electricity to be guaranteed to the grid, and it's for this period of time. Who wants to put some bidding in? Like a reverse auction, and the price goes down, down, down till the last person is left. Last week, they held an energy auction, so we need some energy for the grid, please, for this point in time in the future. Who wants to say they can provide it? Well, offshore wind power won at a price of £39.65. And for keen observers of calculators, you'll have worked out that is significantly less than the £92.50 that the UK government guaranteed. And you know, I say the government, ergo customers, will all be paying for this energy because the money has to come from somewhere, so it'll be added to our bills. The government at the time were told repeatedly, and to try and deny this would be a lie. The government were told repeatedly back at the time of this auction with EDF and nuclear power that renewables were going down and will continue to reduce in price significantly as advances were being made and are being made to the technology behind renewable power at a significant rate faster than nuclear power technology, which is a very stable and established technology, but there was no technology on the horizon that could have possibly driven the price down, like it's doing with renewables. The government were told that. So now we're stuck with paying a shed load of money for energy when renewables can do it just as a lot cheaper. But however, I would point out that the PR campaign that went on today in the news, I saw on the TV, I listened to Radio 4 Today programme this morning, and they had the people out to speak on behalf of nuclear power, and the same old line which gets trotted out. Even so-called experts, you don't know who's paying for their work though, but they go, oh yes, but the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow and therefore we need nuclear. Let me tell you, in the UK, the wind is always blowing. You be guaranteed of one thing? Yeah, it's windy here. Let's move on. Question of the week this week. What do you want to hear on this podcast? I had an email recently from a listener saying, look, don't talk about plug-in hybrids because they've got engines. I like talking about them because I think some buyers will need them to convince them to go to EV. But what do you think? Do you only want to hear about pure EVs, plug-ins, hybrids, other vehicles, bikes, scooters, planes and boats? Let me know. Email hello@evnewsdaily.com. Or leave a comment on the show notes or the comment section of YouTube and Facebook. Thank you to 254 patrons of the podcasts. Thank you to Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby and Avid Technology, my premium partners. If you want to get in on the act, you can do patreon.com/evnewsdaily. There are 591 previous shows online for free. The new ones, we are barreling towards show 600. You get first and free and automatically if you're a subscriber. Have a wonderful day. Catch you tomorrow. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.